You know him from his time in the entertainment world, but he's also behind several consumer brands that could be facing some of those same inflationary pressures Steve just talked about. With us now, Dwayne Johnson, co-founder of rapidly growing Zoa Energy Drink and Terramana Tequila. Zoa Energy launching a new brand campaign just this morning called Fuel Something Bigger. Dwayne, welcome back to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you, Morgan. It's good to see you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, so let's talk about Zoa, because it came into being in 2021. How did it come into being? How quickly is it growing? And why specifically the energy drink market?
Well, for years, myself and my co-founders, Danny Garcia, Dave Ramsey, and John Schulman, we were energy drink consumers over the years, being a big advocate of going to the gym and trying to remain as healthy as we possibly can. There was a growing reticence in terms of trust, and I just wasn't sure exactly what I was drinking. And I was getting a little tired of the proprietary blends in the energy drink. So we decided to make our own, and we decided to make sure that our lead foot was transparency, and that we like to say, if it's not on the can, then you won't see it in the can. So, so far, we've done incredibly well. Knock on wood. We've had a tremendous first full year. We've crossed over $100 million in retail sales. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but things are trending really, really nicely. And I think one of the things I would say probably the main anchor is that equity of trust that we've been able to build with our consumer.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, the energy category has been outperforming everything else in beverages, and anything that's healthy energy has been particularly strong. So I do want to get your sense of the consumer who's buying this product, and whether, given the fact that it is a crowded and competitive marketplace, you can continue to grow at those gangbuster levels.
Well, you know, that's the hope, Morgan. You keep your fingers crossed and you roll your sleeves up and you keep your head down and you continue to put in the work. Our consumers, what we have found is they're very health forward. They love the transparency. And we do deliver a very balanced drink here. So, well aware of the competition. I think one of the main things that have allowed us really to get in and pierce the category, as you'd said, it's a $20 billion category. We're lucky to take just a little bit of that share. One of the main things I think that have really anchored us with the consumer is the story behind the brand, the faces in front of the brand. One of them, of course, is my big face here. And the trust that we've been able to build with them. So I'd like to think that we have some nice tailwinds ahead of us and we'll continue to grow. That's Zoa Plus right there. That's our pre-workout energy supplement. It's doing very well as well. So I think, again, fingers crossed, we're doing pretty good.
And, of course, you have the Terramana Tequila brand as well, which I think is the last time you came on and joined us. So I guess whether it is the energy drink, whether it is the tequila, what is the end game?
The end game is to continue to grow these brands, and the end game for me, I can't speak for my co-founders in all these other brands, but I could tell you that the end game for me is to continue to find brands and create brands that I'm incredibly passionate about. As I like to say, the things that really gets me out of bed, and those products, those brands, I run towards. And Zoa is one of them. Certainly, Terramana Tequila is one of them. As we continue to build out that brand too as well. And some of the other cool, fun things we have coming down the line, which I'm sure I'll come back and talk to you about. There's Terramana.
All right. Okay, well, we look forward to that. In the meantime, just shifting gears here, there's a lot to get to in terms of the entertainment industry with you. But first, something that's been in the news in recent days, that's the WWE. You made your name initially as one of the most successful pro wrestlers of all time. You were part of the WWE franchise during the boom years, the so-called attitude era of the late 90s and early 2000s. You know the McMahon family. You came up with Triple H. What do you see as the next chapter for WWE? I mean, would a sale or a future involving new owners actually make sense here?
Well, I could tell you this. I could tell you that it's an exciting brand. It's a brand that I've been very fortunate enough to have tremendous success over the decades. And also for your viewers here in the business world who may not know, the lineage goes way back, multi-generational with the WWE. My grandfather wrestled for Vince McMahon Sr. in the 70s. My dad wrestled for Vince McMahon in the 80s, and then I came along with my bad haircut and fanny pack and I continue to wrestle for Vince too as well. So we've seen tremendous success over the years. I think it's a very attractive company, and I'm excited, and I wish Vince and that company all the best.
Yeah, Dwayne, it's David Faber. There are those, and you seem to make this point, that say Vince McMahon will never be able to separate himself from the WWE. So the idea of a sale becomes sort of a difficult to imagine unless somehow it's a buyer who lets him continue to run it and be in charge. Would you tend to agree with that?
I would, and that's a great note, David. I think with the world of professional wrestling and the world of WWE, it's so unique. The fan base is very large and very passionate. And there's nothing like the WWE. So I think with the new owners, if there are new owners and acquirers who are going to come in, I think that they have to share that same passion that Vince has for the company and for the world of pro wrestling, which isn't always easy to do. As you guys know, with a company like this, it's been so incredibly successful over the years. A sale and acquisition can be very complicated, but there's that unique added anchor to this, I believe, that Vince feels, where you got to find the right buyer who still has that passion and love for this very unique world.
Yeah. Dwayne, whenever we have you on or, follow your career for so many years, I do find myself wondering just what your day is like. And I ask that question with the idea of so many of the different things that you're pursuing, whether it's obviously your movie career or all of these brands and businesses that you're behind, not to mention, of course, spending time, I would imagine, in the gym. How do you go about segmenting your day? Do your days look the same? Do you sort of allot a certain amount of time each day for these various efforts? Or is each day a different sort of different experience?
It's a great question. I get asked that all the time. I used to have this mentality for a lot of years, David, that, well, my plate is full. However, I'm going to make room for it. And I would find a way to do that. And, there's that great quote and book about power versus force. So in many ways, I was forcing a lot of things throughout the years that caused somewhat of an imbalance. So we all look for that balance. My days are very full, but what I've learned to do, and that's really helped me, and I've called on a few mentors in my life, Bob Iger being one of them, who you guys know very well. It was this idea and the power of making sure that you surround yourself with people who, I'm not speaking for Bob, I'm speaking for me, who are much smarter than me in the various areas that I need them to be. That really helps my day move along nicely. So I've got a lot of great people in various industries now who I look to and who I'm able to fortunately galvanize a little bit. But, that's a tricky thing. When you're busy and you're ambitious, as we all are to some degree, finding that balance. You did mention the gym. The gym is one of my anchors. I love movement. I love action. I love just this sort of physicality. I do need that in the morning. I try to start my day off with some sort of physical activity. And then there's businesses and there's brands and there's movies and film and television. But the also most important thing is really my number one bosses, which is one is 7 and the other one is getting ready to turn 5. And they're all girls. So I'm surrounded by the wonderful estrogen in my family.
Would you say at this point you devote more time to your business interests than you do to your movie career?
It's a great question. It's balanced right now because movies take up so much time. When I expose the movie side of my day to people who really aren't aware of it, they're really shocked with how many hours of work it really takes to make a movie and how long it takes to make a movie. And then, of course, is the editing process, et cetera. So I would say it's a good balance. And what has helped is I've reached a point in my career, David and Morgan, where when it comes to movies, I only want to make movies that I really love and I'm so passionate about. And they really give me an opportunity, I think, to reach a global audience, stay 4 quadrant, and entertain a lot of people around the world. Those are the kind of movies I like to make these days.
You mentioned Bob Iger. Any advice for him as he takes on a fight for the future of Disney, given the proxy situation we're seeing unfold right now?
Bob does not need any advice from me. Bob has been a tremendous partner over the years. My very first movie with Bob and Disney was in 2006 called The Game Plan. We saw some great success with that. But over the years, he's been a tremendous mentor and a friend. I'm just very happy to see him back. And, there's tremendous ambition with that man that I really admire. And I admire his friendship and his mentorship. He was very instrumental with our XFL partnership with ESPN and ABC. We'll launch that season next month, coming up. It's very exciting. So he's great. Hardest worker in the room.
The whole media industry is going through changes right now, including leadership changes. So I do want to ask you about Black Adam, which was released last fall. Won't see a sequel under the new DC Comics studio leadership at Warner Brothers Discovery. There's a report out earlier this month from Variety saying that you took a meeting and pitched CEO David Zaslav on a multi-year plan for Black Adam that it, quote, ruffled feathers internally. Just want to get your comment on that situation, given all of the media speculation about how it's unfolded.
Yeah, sure. I got to tell you, Morgan and David, one of the hardest things that I've had to do, and it's one of the greater disciplines that we all have to practice when we're in this position, is you want to be careful how much you get pulled into the sludge of media reporting. Now, I'm not, that's not an overall criticism, but you do want to be careful about it. So it was very difficult. Let me rephrase that. It was challenging to exercise that kind of discipline just to let these reports come out. Speaking directly to what you said, that's simply not true. Had a great meeting with David Zaslav, myself, and my longtime business partner, Danny Garcia. Her and myself went in, we sat with David, and we talked about, we did not pitch a 10-year plan at all. What our meeting was the future and how can we build across the entire platform of Warner Brothers and Discovery.